aficionado when it comes to bourbon. If you have any questions, yes, thank you, bourbon fan. If you have any questions about bourbon, where to get bourbon, what it should feel like as it goes down your throat, please ask Alan Berg. If you don't know what bourbon is, ask Alan Berg. Alan is actually changing his name to Alan Bourbon next year, just to simplify things. I think we do have time for a short break for all of you if you want to run and then come back, and then Alan will give you some more information. Alan, how are you feeling? Do you need a break? Are you okay? Are you ready to go? Well then, once again, everyone, Alan Berg.
Applause, if I ever heard one. So how many of you know this song? You know WedProCon? Yeah. All right, I spoke in Ireland a couple of weeks ago, and I got introduced, and the song came on. I get on stage, and not one person in the room knew the song. Crickets. I thought I had this moment, and then I'm like, now WedProCon, and I got nothing. So if I say, you know WedProCon? Yeah. You got it. Crickets, know your audience, right? Crickets. So are you making it easy or hard to do business with you? See, we think we're making it easy, but have we walked a mile in the shoes of our customers? I did a podcast, if you can't walk a mile in their shoes, at least take a few steps. And where this came from is I was consulting with someone, and their form was just too long. And somebody else just, it didn't work really well on mobile. And what they're thinking, I said, well, where is this on your website? They go, it's right here. I was like, no, that wasn't obvious. If it was obvious, I wouldn't have asked you, where is that? Because I would know where it is. You want your website to be so intuitive that they don't have to think about where stuff is, they just find it. You want them to know what you can do for them, and that's why they reach out. And it would be nice if we could just reduce that friction. Right? The more effort we have them do, the more they're going to go to somebody else who makes it lesser. You have companies you refuse to do business with because they make it hard to do business with them. And how many companies, if you maybe look for a phone number on the website, you can't find it because you want to call them? Or I had one company, it was just the opposite. I wanted to email them because I didn't need an answer now, I just needed an answer. You couldn't email them, you had to call them, but only during these hours. Right? Are you making it easier or hard to do business with you? According to Entrepreneur, if you present all your services a la carte at varying price points, you run the risk of confusing your customers. And if you expect your customers to proactively buy your services, you run the risk of leaving money on the table. By creating packages that are easy to buy, that's the key, that cater to your customers' varying needs and budgets, you can sell more services and keep your customers more engaged in the process of buying from you. So the conversation of packages versus a la carte, we're talking about packages, you have preset packages. How do packages make it easier for people? How many of you sell by packages? How many of you sell a la carte? Okay, pretty so both. Right. How do packages help you sell more? Packages reduce the number of decisions someone has to make. Everything in that package, if you sold it a la carte, is a separate decision. So if you reduce the number of decisions they have to make, what you want to leave, the most important decision is, do I want you to do it, not the stuff. And that's the key, is we don't want to put the cart before the horse here. If you have not read this book, The Paradox of Choice, read the book. It was the second book I ever read twice, or listened to, because I do audiobooks. I do audiobooks because when I was reading regular books, I'd read 1 or 2 a year, now I read 1 or 2 a month. I also do them at 1.4 speed. A couple of my author friends that I read their books, I had to slow them down because they already speak fast, which is probably the same as me if you listen to it. At 1.4, I probably sound like Alan from the Chipmunks, so let's slow it down. But this book, The Paradox of Choice, decision paralysis is when we're presented with so many choices we can't decide. Have you been on Amazon for anything? See, the paradox of choice says we want to know we've seen all the choices. Right? When you're a customer, you want to know you've seen all the choices. You don't want to feel like you missed out on a choice. You want to buy something and, oh, I didn't know that was available, right? The problem is, we live in a world where there's too many choices. So when you're shown all the choices, you can't decide. So your job is to help them decide by reducing the number of choices while letting them feel like they have choice. That is the balance. You want them to have the perception of choice without so many choices that they can't decide. Decision fatigue is when I ask you to make a decision, and then another decision, then another decision, then another decision, and then another decision, another decision, until you're like, I can't make any more decisions. My wife and I built the house in 2010. Toll Brothers was the builder. We chose them because their houses, the base price was more expensive, but they gave you things already that the others were going to charge you extra for. So you want a granite in the kitchen, it was already there. You want a crown molding, it was already there. With the other builders, the house seemed cheaper, but then you knew, it's like, oh, I got to pay extra for crown molding, extra for a fireplace, extra for this. So we knew we were paying more. And then they took us to the design center. The 12,000 square foot design center. With every tile, and every carpeting, and every bathroom fixture, and every kitchen fixture, and everything you can imagine. And we're sitting there for, I don't know, 2 hours until our heads are ready to explode, which is decision fatigue. And they sent us home. And they brought us back later when our brains were fresh and we want more. Because they know. They know at a certain point you just can't make any more decisions. That is decision paralysis or decision fatigue. Decision paralysis, I can't make the decision at all because, look at all these choices. Decision fatigue is I can't make decisions anymore. My head just will not allow me. In The Paradox of Choice, they told the story about these psychologists that went out. And they went to a grocery store. And they set up 6 jellies and jams for you to taste. And they measured how many people bought. Then they set up in the same store at a different day 20 different flavors. And how many people bought? More people bought when there were 6 than when there were 20. It's easier to decide. I didn't bring all of my books, partly because I don't have a big enough table, but partly because it's easier to say, well, there's 4 different titles there. Which of these do I want? Instead of there's 7 different titles here. Which of those do I want? I even looked at my table in Wedding MBA and I'm like, I don't know if I should have all these. I want you to know I have them, but if I put them all out there, you'll actually buy less. Where if there's 2 books and I go, okay, which of these do I want? Do I want both, right? So are we doing the same thing to our customers? So if you're going to have packages, how many should you have? Right? Or how many could you have? See, you could have a lot of packages. But is that good? Or is it bad? I really don't care how many packages you have. Just don't show them all to a customer. They can't all be right. The reason you have different packages is because some are right for some people, some are not right. Some include things others don't need. So, again, back what Doug said earlier, if we're talking to them first, before telling them what we can do for them, we can eliminate packages and not even show them to them. Not show them the ones that won't give them the results that they want. And not cloud their heads with it. Right? So was one package enough? Could you as a menu, right? You're a menu? Could you have one package? Yeah, you could. Maybe with some upsells. I have a client in Pennsylvania who is very successful having one package. 2 pages of upsells. One very inclusive package, by the way. If you don't take any upsells, you're going to have a very nice wedding. And what she has, and I'll show you in a little bit, she has her prices on her website, right there for everybody to see, including her competitors. She's got 2 pages of upsells, totally transparent. She does 120 to 130 weddings a year. She's thrilled. I have a testimonial on Google from her. She said, she brought me in for a day of training. We talked about this. She was able to hire a general manager. She says, I don't even have to do the weddings anymore. Somebody else does them, and I'm home with my family on the weekend. Doesn't that sound nice, right? And she's doing it with one package with the pricing on the website. So many people are like, oh, don't do that. Don't put your prices out there. It works for her. It doesn't have to work for you. So, you can have as many options as you want. Never show somebody more than 3. Actually, 3 is even too many. But never show them more than 3. Because we as humans can't decide from 3. We decide from 2 or 1. 2 is, do you want this one or that one? 1 is, do you want it or don't you? There's a choice of 2. Do you want it or don't you? But that's okay, because if this is the only one that's right for you, Crystal, then do you want this one or not, right? That's a fair question. Or if it's this one or that one, either one's good, isn't it? Either answer is a good answer. So, according to the Journal of Consumer Psychology, the center stage effect. Consumers believe that options placed in the center of a simultaneously presented array are the most popular. In other words, if you put three things together, the one in the middle is the one that everybody perceives is the most popular. If you labeled it most popular, it will become your most popular anyway. Right? So you should always have the middle package, the one that gives you good profit, that if everybody bought that and nothing else, you'd be happy at the end of the year. So let's talk about packages. Could you have the typical good, basic, most popular, best value, also best value is another great way to label it, and then the top one, the kitchen sink. You always want to have something higher than what people are buying, typically, to make what they're buying seem more reasonable. That's framing. That's framing this decision. If the only number they see is the high number, then they think they're going to pay that, and you might scare some people away. When Wendy's hamburgers first came out, they didn't have singles and doubles and triples. They had a hamburger. And if you remember the commercials, there was that lady who just barely had above the counter, where's the beef, right? Because their sell was, it was a bigger burger than McDonald's Burger King was, right? Well, they came out with a double hamburger, and people didn't buy it. So their marketing person said, come out with a triple. And they said, hey, genius, we're not selling any doubles. I said, right, but you want to sell doubles? Yeah. So come out with a triple. Okay. So they came out with a triple and doubles start selling. It was like, hey, I'm not going to get the triple. I'm just going to get the double. So you can justify it because you didn't buy the big one. But then there are other people that buy only the best. Have you ever had a father or a bride say, whatever she wants, give her the best? Right? It's also perception. I did a sales training at a venue in Salt Lake City. And out there, it's what I've been told is the most expensive venue. Well, out there. But the people that come from New York that go skiing in Utah look at the price, and it's half the cost of a wedding in Manhattan if they get the top. So what the locals are like, oh my gosh. The people from New York are like, really? That's it? What else do you have? Because it's perception. Go to a parking lot. Right? I was down in Florida just recently, and I go to a parking lot, and there's a Rolls Royce. Right? Parked next to my rental car. There's a Rolls Royce. Well, somebody bought it. Somebody paid $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, whatever for a car. Could have had a house. They bought a car. But that was their choice. One of the things I'm always asked to teach when I do sales training is don't sell with your wallet. It's not your money. It's their money. And it's hard because you put a 25-year-old into a venue where the average price could be $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 for a wedding, and they've never spent $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 on anything in their life. And can they say with confidence, yeah, that's going to be $28,000. Should we get that reserved? Or are they going to say that's going to be $28,000? Or, sorry, it's $28,000. No. It is what it is. If you're confident in your pricing, say it with confidence and ask for the sale, because it's not your money. Can you sell something that you wouldn't buy? Yeah. You don't have to buy what you're selling. I remember I did a mastermind, like we're going to do tomorrow with a small group. There was a lady sitting next to me in Richmond, Virginia, high-end decor and design. And she said at one point, I wouldn't pay my prices. And we all went, would. And she said, yeah, I wouldn't pay my prices. I said, do you have a problem asking for that price? She goes, oh no. All my customers have no problem. She said, I would never pay somebody to do what I do because I can do it. I can't imagine paying that. It's like I'm a DIY guy. If I can't fix it in my house, I will hire somebody else. But I'm pretty darn good. My neighbors hate me because if I put out something on our email group, hey, I put in these new water filters, and somebody says, well, who'd you have to do it for you? I said, well, I did it. They go, well, of course you did. Right? But if I hire someone, it's because I can't. And therefore, I will pay somebody to do it. But if I can, I'm going to do it. That was her point, is I'm not going to hire somebody to do what I can do. that's the point. There are people out there that have a business to go to your backyard and pick up the poop that your dog did in your backyard. That's somebody's business, right? Okay, I'm sure you could do it, but you pay somebody to do what you don't want to do, right? But what if your good package, what if your basic package had restrictions? Such as you can't buy it on a Saturday in October, right? Just because you have a package doesn't mean you have to sell it to anybody on any day. I did a group sales training in Texas, 6 wedding venues. They got together and had me come in. And one of them said, she sold the wedding for 40 people on a Saturday in Popular month. And I said, why? She said, well, it was one of the options and that's what they asked for. I said, that's because you allowed it. You can say you can't do that on Saturday night. Saturday afternoon, sure, you got it. Got to be out by 4, but you can do it. Well, why would you do that on a Saturday night? She's like, I said, you're not doing that anymore. She said, I'm not doing that anymore. She never thought about it. It was one of the options. They took it. No, you can have restrictions on that. And then your top one could be the only choice on the most popular day. How many of you are solopreneurs? It's just you, you don't have a whole team. Okay, right? So the whole idea of pricing should be different on different days or whatever. Well, what if you do have different options? So what if you have an elopement option, okay? And if you had an elopement option that was, hey, it's going to be, 45 minutes and whatever. Well, if it's Saturday night in October, it's the same price as if I do the entire night. I have a DJ friend in the UK. And the UK DJs sometimes just do dancing after dinner. Sometimes they do dinner, right? They do all these options, and it could be the whole day. There's 4 different options. He's only trying to do 25 weddings a year. I said, so why don't you have one price? He said, well, sometimes they only need me after dinner. I said, and? Could you do another wedding that day? No. So why don't you have one price? And he's getting there. He's not quite there. He's not getting the concept. I charge for the day. I don't charge for the hour, I charge for the day. So if I speak 3 times in the day, I speak 3 times. If I speak once, I speak once. Had a company brought me down to Mexico to speak for an